Hello everybody, it's Nina. Thanks for joining me today for a new Studio Monday featuring Art Impressions products and a window action wobble technique. I don't know about you, but these Mouthfuls stamp sets from Art Impressions just kill me. They are so stinking cute. And I love how adorable that they are and how much fun it is that you can use this die that cuts out the edge of its mouth and fit those accessories in place. That is just so clever and fun. So I've stamped the dog 3 times because I'm going to make 3 different cards, and I've stamped a bunch of the accessories. I'm coloring all of the images with Copic markers, and I'm going to be using about 3 shades on each of the dogs. I used a dark, medium, and light. And as I shade it, I'm making sure to use the darkest marker in the areas that I want everything to be darkest, and then I blend out from there. So I use the mid-tone to help fade that out, and then for the lightest color, I did use the tip-to-tip technique to help get me a really nice blend between the mid-tone and the lightest. On all the dogs, I wanted to give them a little bit of a rosy tone to their mouth and also their belly. So I brought in a very light arm marker and blended that in with some of the browns and grays that I used on each of the dogs. For the accessories, I used just a few markers. I didn't get too crazy with the shading because they are fairly small and you're not going to see a whole lot of them because they are going to be inside each of the dogs' mouths. This is really fun to color these images, and you can use any type of medium you prefer to do this. I'm just using Copics because I felt like coloring with my Copic markers. Now, funny story with this pizza. This actually is not a pizza, it is a cookie. But for some reason, my crazy mind said to me, oh, this is a pepperoni pizza. So this is why you're seeing me color this cookie like a pizza. So in case you're like thinking I'm totally crazy, maybe I am. I decided it was going to be a pepperoni pizza, not by choice, by accident, but in the end I like it and I actually think it looks really cool. So I'm taking the coordinating dies that are from that die set. You do get those when you buy the stamp set, they come together. I'm going to be cutting out all the accessories, that way I can then add them to the dog's mouths. Now the dogs itself, I do have to fussy cut because there is not a die for the actual dog itself, but there is the die that cuts out the slit in its mouth. And I'm going to line that up along the edge of its mouth. It's very easy to do, but I am going to tape it in place so that it stays where I want it to be, because if it shifts at all, then it's going to look a little funny. Once I've run this through my mini die cutting machine, I can remove the die and you'll see we have that mouth cut into place, and it is so cool. So now we can take those accessories, slide them in, and look at that. I love that present, by the way. That drool hanging off of it, it just cracks me up completely. It is so funny. The tongue is also one of my favorites, and I thought that would look really cool with the pizza. So I'm going to attach all of my little accessories inside his mouth on each of the dogs. I used foam tape for many of them. And then I also added party hats on each of the dogs as well, because these are going to be birthday cards. So I'm going to have some birthday greetings included in the cards. Now moving on to the card bases, I'm taking some blue ink and I'm going to be doing tone-on-tone stamping onto a blue card base. I made 3 different card bases in blue, yellow, and red, and I used tone-on-tone ink stamping on all of them. So I used a yellow and a red ink for the other 2 card bases. Now, like I said earlier, we're going to be creating a window action wobble. The Wrap Stitches die sets from Memory Box, the Wrap Stitches circles and then the Wrap Stitches circle frames, both are the exact same size. So it made it really easy for me to cut a window and then use the frame die and create a coordinating frame that matches well with the dogs. You don't have to add the frame. I just like adding the extra pop of color. So I'm going to go ahead and add that frame down using some liquid glue. Now, the really fun thing about this design is that this is going to allow the action wobble that we're adding on the inside of the card be able to show through to the outside. I always see action wobble cards and they're always got the action wobble on the outside. And for me, I'm thinking of other ways to use the supplies that I have. So I thought this would be really fun to create not only a window action wobble, but a window to the inside of the card and have the action wobble on the inside. That makes the inside more fun, I think. It allows the recipient to open the card and find a fun surprise. So I'm going to attach that action wobble down. I removed the adhesive backing on both ends. After attaching the one end to the dog, I removed the other adhesive end and attached that down onto the card base. And these action wobbles are the large size from Art Impressions. There is a smaller size, but the dog is quite big, so I did use the larger ones. the greetings that I placed on my cards are from the stamp set, and I'm going to be cutting them because I want them to be on the inside and on the outside. The outside sentiment is going to say happy birthday, and I'm going to stamp this onto black cardstock and white heat emboss this. I created 3 of these all at once. I'll trim those down into little label strips, and then I can go ahead and create the rest of the sentiment. The rest of it says from the dog, which I think is so funny, and I'm going to cut that with the Simon Says Stamp Talk Bubbles Nested Die Set. The reason I did this is because this allows me to give the dog some life. He's going to look like he's talking. And I think that's so much fun to be able to use a talk bubble die and make your critters talk on your card. I think it's just really fun. So I attached all of my sentiments down using foam tape. Now, like I said, the talk bubble sentiment is on the inside, and then the other one is going to go on the outside here. Now, you will also know that I cut down my card bases to be 4 1/4 by 4 1/2, so they're not quite square. One of the other elements that I added onto my cards was some gel glaze pen detailing. I used black glaze pen on the nose and eyes of each of my dogs, and then on all the wet areas, I used the clear glaze pens. So on the tongue of the dog, on the drool of the present, there's also some clear glaze pen, which is a really fun way to make something look dimensional and also wet at the same time. It's not quite as dimensional as something like Glossy Accents, but you can see there it creates this awesome dimensional shine. It's really pretty. Again, I also added that clear glaze pen to the bone, and like I said, I used black glaze pen for the eyes and noses. I loved how these cards turned out, and the action wobble concept is just so much fun. It's really fun to be able to add some interactive elements onto your cards, and I hope that this video has inspired you to do that using the Mouthfuls stamp set from Art Impressions and some fun action wobbles. I hope you enjoyed this video and will try out this technique. If you enjoyed, here are 2 more that you might find interesting. Until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day, and thanks for joining us. Bye!